Islam, Islam, Islam. Open up with prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Ali. Ameen. And before we get started, Morris, I'm going to go ahead and have a reading of our divine constitutional bylaws. Uh, our fiscal new year begins on January the 15th. So it won't be until January the 15th, 2023, that our fiscal new year begins. But for those that celebrate, we want to wish you a happy New Year's. Islam. So finally got the things set up here. We're going to have a reading of these laws. And we can demonstrate. All right. So we actually have the three pieces of literature on deck, so that you see where I'm reading from, along with the so you can see Circle 7 Koran, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and the 101s. All right. That's the standard Moorish literature that we have. So, without further ado, let's get started. We're going to have a reading of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Salvation, Allah, Unity. Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and last until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifted and fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Ameen. We're also going to have a reading of the additional laws. As you all can see, this edition of the 101s has the back of the trust instrument as it was intended to be. And that's something that especially comes from this particular administration, Islam. Okay. It even has the authentic seal. See that? 1010-5905. So we're very thorough with how we demonstrate this measure. Everything is official. So with that being said, we're going to have a reading of the additional laws. Questioning additional laws for the Moorish Americans. By the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand Sheikh and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc. That will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their adept meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents. On the first case and on the second will be fined $1, which will go in your emergency fund. If a member is working, his monthly dues must be paid. And if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift a nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able to finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people. And justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Acts 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school. And the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwest and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious in becoming part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God, Allah. Islam. 1 second, Morris. Islam. So, like I say, I don't do this for likes. I do this as because this is my divine duty, and this is what I'm charged to do. So we're going to have a reading of various speeches of the Prophet. Well, these are the minutes. Well, these are the speeches that you will hear when you attend your meetings. So, and then we're going to have a reading of other literature. But this is the usual demo that you hear. It will either be before the meeting or after the meeting. Certain things are read at every meeting. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and a desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so that they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement, will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase and your divine Moorish movement. I need financing. I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so that I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. And it comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful to your forefathers' divine and national creed that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Drew Ali, and that is why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the love, the true love of Allah, and the spirit of your forefathers, you do not fear what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. One more speech. Here it is. Prophet warns all Muslims governors to order to read proclamation at each meeting. Friday, January 15th, 1929. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or in the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any group or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet will violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement. I wanted to talk about a few current events that's going on. We have the prophet's birthright coming up, which is every January the 8th. And then we have the Moorish New Year coming up. We're going to be dropping the birthright war. Soldier without foe never knows his strength. And you can order it online. We did have to halt the ordering because there's some things that had to be corrected. So unfortunately, that set us back. So we will be doing the book launch during the springtime. I'm thinking around anywhere between the 25th, probably on the 20th, anywhere between the 22nd and the 25th of March, which is the official beginning of spring, which is the true Moorish New Year. All right. This is when things are in sync as far as it goes with nature. The new year is in March, in spring. It's beginning with the sun sign of Aries. All right. This is when the ground is just first thawing out and everything. So that's all in divine order. And like I say, this is therapeutic for me. So it's not about numbers of people and likes because for the most part, people are pretty finicky and, you know, it's really no way to determine who's who as far as, the hearts, you know, people are not, people are very fickle. So this work is going to be done with or without you. That's the way it's moving. That's the way it's acting. And a soldier without a foe never knows his strength. So as this is a challenge for me, whether I have an audience or not, it doesn't matter because people are not going to be down with you when things are going rough, or you are building. So it's like people like to have structure to things and men comprehend things by what they see and do. So they are not, they don't have the disposition to create or to build, to initiate things, and then to see things through to the resolution, to see it through. But that's not the case with us. We are going to stay motivated, stay focused. Now we're going to have a reading of the Circle Seven Koran. And when you go to the meetings, this is the instrument that's read from Circle Seven Koran. And the reason I do things a certain way because what you're doing is you're invoking the spirit of the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. each and every time you go into the literature and you read the literature, it's like you bringing him back in the spirit of the law. All right. So this is the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet, Juali, by the guidance of his father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity, back to the highest plane of life with his father God, Allah. Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, know thyself and your father God, Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship on his own vine and fig tree, the Uniting of Asia. Know thyself in Allah, the genealogy of Jesus, the life works of Jesus in India, in Europe, and in Africa, and in the land of Egypt. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of his higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Koran of Mecca for the teaching and instruction of all Moorish Americans, etc. All right. And I was moved by the Spirit to read a certain chapter, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read that chapter. The Divine Instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 35. Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Religion. There is but one Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. The sun is not Allah, though his noblest image. He enlightened the world with his brightness. His warmth giveth life to the products of the earth. Admire him as the creature, the instrument of Allah, but worship him not. To the one who is supreme, most wise and beneficent, and to him alone belongs worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise. Who have stretched forth the heavens with his hands, who have described with his fingers the courses of the stars, who setteth bounds to the ocean that it cannot pass, and saith unto the stormy winds, be still, who shaketh the earth and the nations tremble, who dareth his lightning and the wicked are dismayed, who calleth forth worlds by the words of his mouth, who smiteth with his arm and they sink into nothing. O reverence the majesty of the omnipotent and tempt not his anger, lest thou be destroyed. The providence of Allah are ever all his works. He ruleth and directeth with infinite wisdom. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conformed to his will. In the depths of his mind he revolveth all knowledge. The secrets of futurity lie open before him. The thoughts of thy heart are naked to his view. He knoweth thy determination before they are made. With respect to his prescience, there is nothing contingent. With respect to his providence, there is nothing accidental. Wonderful he is in all his ways. His counsels are inscrutable. The matter of his knowledge transcendeth thy conception. Pay therefore to his wisdom all honor and veneration, and bow down thyself in humble and submissive obedience to his supreme discretion. The Father is gracious and beneficent. He hath created the world in mercy and love. His creatures of his hand declare his goodness, and their enjoyment speak of his praise. He clothed them with beauty. He supporteth them with food. He preserveth them with pleasure from generation to generation. If we lift up our eyes to the heavens, his glory shineth forth. If we cast them down on the earth, it is full of his goodness. The hills and the valleys rejoice and sing. Fields and rivers and woods resound his praise. But thee he hath distinguished with peculiar favor, and exalted thy station above all creatures. He hath endued thee with wisdom to maintain thy dominion. He hath fitted thee with language to improve thy society, and exalted thy mind with the powers of meditation to contemplate and adore his inimitable perfections. And in the laws he have ordained as the rule of life, so kindly hath he united thy duty to thy nature, that obedience to his precepts is happiness to thyself. O praise his goodness with songs of thanksgiving, and meditate in silence on the wonders of his love. Let thy heart overflow with gratitude and acknowledgement. Let the language of thy lips speak praise and adoration. Let the actions of thy life show thy love to his law. Allah is just and righteous, and will judge the earth with equity and truth. Hath he established his laws in goodness and mercy, and shall he not punish the transgressors thereof? Think not, O bold man, O think not, bold man, because thy punishment is delayed, that the arm of Allah is weakened. Neither flatter thyself with hopes that he winketh at thy doings. His eye pierceth the secrets of every heart, and he remembereth them forever. He respecteth not the persons or the stations of men, the high and the low, the rich and the poor, the wise and the ignorant. When the soul has shaken off the cumbrous shackles of this mortal life, shall equally receive from the sentence of just and everlasting retribution, according to their works. Then shall the wicked tremble and be afraid, but the heart of the righteous shall rejoice in his judgments. O fear Allah all the days of thy life, and walk in the paths which he hath opened before thee. Let prudence admonish thee, let temperance restrain, let justice guide thy hand, benevolence warm thy heart, and gratitude to heaven inspire thee with devotion. These shall give thee happiness in thy present state, and bring thee to the mansions of eternal felicity in the paradise of Allah. This is the true economy of human life. Islam. So we were having a there. I tend to be quite active on Facebook, and I put the information out there as relates to the divine constitution and bylaws. Now I'm gonna put a challenge out there, right? I challenge anyone to show me in any of the three pieces of literature, that being the Circle 7 Koran, sure. Circle 7 Koran, the divine constitution and bylaws, and the 101s. I want you to show me anywhere where Allah has put it forth for us to be guided by anybody. Well, Allah is the God, but show me anywhere where the leadership is listed as supreme anything. We have grand sheiks in the Moorish Science Temple of America, not supreme grand sheiks. This is an innovation that was introduced to the multitudes, and it is not the way it was set up. So we have grand sheik and chairman. All right. There is no supreme anything. There's no supreme grand sheiks in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And that's because of the ego that ones have decided to demonstrate that magic. But I want it to be known that there is no such thing as a supreme grand sheik within the Moorish Science Temple of America, particularly within the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Body Politic. Now, I know that people are in their egos in these days and times, and that's actually more of a Masonic demonstration. Um, so I just want to make that clear and bring clarity to that situation so that ones understand that that is not the way. And especially when you go into certain documentation to show, and this is part of the reason why we dropped the birthright war, because there's a lot of confusion, and perhaps this is due to the passage of time. You know, Moors have been confusing the lessons, and they have taken a position to overstep their boundaries. Now, I understand that oftentimes this is done in ignorance, but that doesn't make there's no excuses because the prophet took them all the way. So we all have a charge to study, to show ourselves approved. So if you have been referring to yourself as a supreme grand sheik or anything like that, as a supreme anything, you are out of order. And this video is to put you on notice. This is going to go down in the records, the books of Allah's, the book of remembrance. So that we do our part, we make sure of that. Now you have a lot of Moors out there that demonstrate the supreme grand sheik degree. There is nothing supreme about them. All right. We have grand sheiks, but not supreme grand sheiks. These are innovations that were created by ones, and it's unfortunate. But I challenge anyone to show me where the prophet made you a supreme anything. Rest my case. Islam. That being said, we're going to continue to move on, get to some more of this literature. Islam. This is one of my favorites right here. The prophet has spoken. This was put out on Friday, November 9th, 1928. All governors and grand sheiks and head officials that guide any body of Moors of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America. He or she must be of good moral standard and a heart of love, and their works must be love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are to imitate the prophet in speech and teaching in any said temple. They must not be under the influence of intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that will terminate to become detrimental to the organization. It must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow must allow the public to know of their wrongdoings. They must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all the members. They must not speak rash words nor any profane language in the mildest form to any other individual, because a leader without influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Koran and the divine constitution that are handed down unto you by I, the prophet. No finance business is to be open with any group of members of any temple by the governor or grand sheik or whosoever is in charge without the consultation of I, the prophet. All uplifting funds, books are to be issued only through the prophet, only through I, the prophet, because that money is to finance the Moorish movement. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount from 25 cents to 50 cents per a week per member. All public collections and dues are also to the supporting of each said temple and its domestic work. No finance books are to be served in any temple except by the prophet. The head of every temple must by law obey the word of the prophet, and if any leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge and is subject to enforcement of the law by the grand body. And the penalty may be a fine or a removal from office, or placed under a very heavy restriction of the law. Supreme words of the Prophet Noble Ali, Islam. So I just want to show good people that there are standards to this organization, and the prophet set it up to go a certain way. And I notice nowhere in the literature will you see supreme grand anything. Okay, everything is grand sheik or grand governor. All right, all of the head officials, the executive rulers, are referred to as grand sheiks or sheiks. So the prophet was very meticulous and detailed in how he demonstrated, so that there wouldn't be any confusion as to what he did. And that's part of the reason why it's necessary to study and stay on top of your lessons, because sometimes we can be tricked because of tradition, or without some, if you allow others to lead you off the cliff and you let them do the Pied Piper, and then you walk off of that cliff, then that's on you. It's not like you haven't been warned. Okay, so I'm going to continue to read. Prophet Drew Ali speaks to the nations. Friday, September 28th, 1928. If you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race, because you will know who you are and your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition could be better. This is the field open to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the European and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it was said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you by the prophet. Okay, here we go. A warning from the prophet for all governors and grand sheiks and head officials of all temples. Again, you see nothing supreme. Friday, October 26, 1928. This is a week from the convention. Renew your acts, amend your ways, because the great conference is on its way, and in it is where the law will be enforced before the great grand body. The continuance of the present officers in the temples will depend on your past good work. Those who have been delinquent may now know that they will not be tolerated any longer, because this great divine and national movement must move on according to law. These things shall be proclaimed. There is no favorite in any of the temples, for the law is laid down, and everyone who claims to a part of the work must be governed accordingly. All are one, but there is but one temple in this nation, and there is but one prophet of the temples. I come to speak to all nations, bringing them a message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. In the head of every temple, if anyone has violated these divine laws, it will be his discontinuance, for no man is to be under the influence of intoxicating liquors, nor to seek to tear up the families while under the influence of evil motive. Nor must he speak anything that will prejudice the minds of the public against the divine movement. If any of these laws are violated, anybody Grand Sheik or sheiks can file charge against the violation to the grand body, which over which the prophet presides. This power is vested in 7 or more sheiks for the protection of your temple and the divine movement. The Prophet Ojali, founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. So, as you can see, the Prophet ran a pretty tight ship, right? Meaning that he didn't leave any leeway for any of these innovations that we see today. And so there's a misperception that Moors have created through the innovations. So they seem like they're official, but they're not. And there's so because the prophet was forced to make changes, and he knew exactly what he was doing because he was guided by the great God Allah. So let's be clear on that. The prophet makes plea to nation. Friday, March 1st, 1929. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and the American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. For I have suffered much and severely in the past due to misunderstandings of what this movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know all true American citizens are identified by their national descent names to answer and apply to the free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. That is why I'm calling on all true national citizens to help me morally and financially in my great work I am doing to help this national government. For without a free national name, without the descent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all American and foreign sympathizers, Prophet Noble Ali. All right. General laws are said by the prophet, Friday, November 9th, 1928. Every temple and head must function by words and deeds and actions. Imitating the prophet, especially when teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. These are the general laws. The supreme laws will be handed you tomorrow night. The Supreme Council will be chosen tomorrow, consisting of 7 men tried and true, accepted by you according to your words, works, and deeds. The head of all temples are to give an account once a month of all finances into the grand body. And the Grand Sheik, Grand Sheikess, Governor, and Grand Governor of any said temple are to work hand in hand and intercede that the prophet is the law. They are to know that they are a part of the law and must obey. The heads of all temples are by force refrain from all wrathful words, profanity, and the loudest form from its members. They must live the life of love, true peace, freedom, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors or any other harmful things that will terminate to destroy the peace or any other of the divine principles. They are not to contribute to anything that will cause the public to disagree with them or her. And for one to lead a group of Moors, you must keep your house clean with good deeds, kind words. Your wives, brothers must hear good words, kind words, and must know of your good deeds. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this divine principle, for if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge for membership or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by the prophet. Those who contribute to either of the preceding are not Moors, but robbers. Membership, sisters and brothers, is free, not only here, but all over the world. The button is 25 cents Cards 25 cents, and 1 month's dues is paid. Every member pays 50 cents a month for dues. This money goes towards the support of the temple. This, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection that is provided for you, and especially if you're not working or in a position to work. If you neglect to fulfill this small duty assigned you, how can you rightfully expect money or other help when you are sick or otherwise disabled? To be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down to you by I, the Prophet. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount from 25 cents to 50 cents per week, a week per member. All public collections and dues also go to the support of the temple and its domestic work. The head of every temple must, by law, obey the word of the Prophet. And if any head leader or any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is discharged and is subject to enforcement of the law by the grand body. And a penalty may be a fine or removal from office or being placed under a very heavy restriction of the law. Supreme words of the Prophet, Noble Ali. Islam. Right. Okay, so going through this to show the order and the way the organization trust. Islam. Over you Moors. All sheiks, grand sheiks must prepare for the Prophet before he comes to visit them. Must see to it that all is clean and in perfection, as far as comfort is possible, or otherwise don't arrange to have his presence. All members should pay from 25 cents to 50 cents weekly towards the emergency fund. This fund will increase so that it will soon amount to the grand sum of $1,000. That is, if you are loyal Moors. The emergency fund goes to the bank. The treasurer will tend to the responsibility of seeing that the money is in the bank, yes, under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America Finance. When needed, act in accordance to the law pertaining to the procedure of performing an emergency act. No head of any temple is to borrow from any member more than $5 to $10 unless by notification of the Prophet. The necessity for the law. When any said temple desires to purchase property, they must first notify the grand body or the Prophet, and it must be purchased under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America or Noble Ali. An individual name should never be applied. I, Noble Ali, am responsible for all finance, so therefore let I, the Prophet, know what is on me. Some of you have slipped and slipped drastically, so you had better lace up your shoes before I get there. Everything, every business transaction or anything pertaining to finance is to be transacted in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America or Noble Ali. We Moors must maintain the grand treasure as in the days of our forefathers. Then you are a nation. Until then, you are nothing. The emergency fund is issued by no book, but by an emergency card punched according to the contribution, then marked on the book. That is the law, and the law must live. The government is behind me, and I must get behind you, for I must uphold and enforce the law. My mission is to save you, Moors. The heads of all temples, grand sheiks, and grand sheikesses must conform to the divine principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They must live the life among the members and be loved even as the Prophet is loved. They must not practice the principles of segregation among any group or in his or her temple. Let it be he or she that is the head of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that if there should come any grievance that cannot be settled by the head, notify the Prophet at once. No member is to attend that chamber that has not lived a moral and clean life and has not paid his or her dues or assessments, provided that he or she is working or able, cannot consider himself a Moor. But traitors must be excluded from the books after having a fair trial by the head of their temple, and that must be sent into the grand body. And all members that are able to subscribe towards the uplifted fund, because it takes finance to uplift a nation. And those that are able and fail to act are not Moors, but traitors to their cause and trust and their nation, and are not allowed to share all the Moorish honors. And the penalty is, it is embezzlement of the faith of our creed. All heads of all temples must observe these laws by the prophet. So again, we see that the prophet Noble Drew Ali ran a pretty tight ship. All right. Temple tax necessary. Convention votes. Unanimously tax paid monthly. Friday, October 26, 1928. Because of the fact that the expense of the operation of the temple is increasing so fast, it was found necessary to vote a tax to the prophet to carry out the work. This idea was concurred with by the Supreme Grand Council. This act is so arranged that it will not be a burden to any of the temples, but the prophet is very emphatic that it shall not be ignored. The expense of operation has therefore been taken care of with funds received from the manufacturing department, and it was found that it was a burden on that department. Hence, the tax was necessary. This tax is 25 cents per month per capita. This will mean that the numerical strength of the temple will bear the proper share of the responsibility of operation. This per capita tax is intended to supply all members alike, governor and grand sheiks included. The governor or officer in charge of each temple will cause a report to be rendered to the Supreme Grand Business Manager of the Supreme Grand Council, 3140 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, which will specify and itemize the following: number of adepts, number of members, number of new members taken in each month, or those who join after the redemption of the last report. 25 cents must accompany the name of each. Such members as the representation tax. The per capita tax collection began November 1st, 1928. All concerned will say themselves penalized if they render their reports promptly and specifically, because otherwise it will necessitate a representative calling on such delinquent temples and auditing their books, which expense will be borne by the temple. All governors and other officers will be held responsible for the representation, tax, and report by order of the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. So this is just to show that the prophet ran a pretty tight ship. And although it may seem like there's no order or organization in this temple, but it's not because of any lack on the prophet's part. All right. And this is part of the reason why I'm reading and showing the demonstration as it is. Okay, now we're going to go into this is a good one right here. Savior of humanity. In this electrified age, men are racing into this life without complete knowledge of where they are going or what the end will be. When riches seem to be their only pursuit, to be obtained any way and at any cost. When selfishness, avarice, and greed and lust dominates their very being. When humanity in general is left at the mercy of those who have no mercy in them. It is truly wonderful and astounding to see one come into this mad human drama for the sole purpose of saving humanity, losing all sight on those things worldly and yielding absolutely to a higher cause than has ever yet been attained. This picture is the likeness of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is serving humanity. Coming as he does with a message for the nations in somewhat the same manner as did Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and other prophets of their day. Only the things of this prophet's day differ from the ills of the days of the past, and yet the remedy for the ills of today is about the same as the remedies for the days past. All turning about the pivot, love for humanity. Humanity must be lifted from the unwholesome depths of poverty, misery, and suffering and placed on the solid rock of salvation. There are some who claim to do this, but upon investigation, one finds that they have slouched under the wings of their cross to extract from those who come to them means by which they can have the pleasures of this life, while they point their followers to joy after death. While they feed their sheep, they also shear them while eating. At the close of their day, the master will be heard to tell them, "You have your reward. Get thee hence." Rare is it that you find a real prophet whose mission is the salvation of the nations. The land is full of false prophets whose mission is to fleece the people. The time was and now is that there should come into the land a prophet in the likeness of his brothers to redeem them from sin and slavery. Truly, this prophet Noble Jali is the man, bringing with him a message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This alone can save the nations. Like the coming of Jesus, he does not come from the elect, nor the rich, nor the mighty in worldly power, but all power is given unto him to do good. This power is from Allah. It will be his works that will make men of every nation accept the truth that he brings. It will be through his teachings that the nations of the earth will understand the will of the master. It will be through him that peace on earth and goodwill to all men shall come. It will be through his work that humanity will be brought from the slime of life and placed on the solid rock of salvation, Islam. So, this is another measure I think is important. What is Islam? Friday, February 1st, 1929. Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties towards God Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life, according to Islam, is peace with everything, peace with Allah, and peace with man. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet Noble Jali says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. Object of a man's life, according to Islam, is his complete unfoldment. Islam teaches that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that a man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within him the seed of perfect development, and it rests solely with him to make or mar his fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is the unity of the Father Allah. We believe in one God. Allah is all God, all mercy, all power. He is perfect and holy, all wisdom, all knowledge, and all truth. These are some of his great attributes as far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us in so far that we see his attributes working for us and in us. He is nevertheless impersonal because he is infinite, perfect, and holy. We do not believe that death, decay, or sleep overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helplessly inactive and inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is he begotten, because these are the frail traits of frail and weak humanity. This unity of Allah is first and foremost pillar of this unity of Allah is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. Islam. So I want to say all praises due to Allah. We did start late. That was at 1:30. So charged to my head, not my heart. So that means that we have another 30 minutes of ministry here. All right. Prophet announces his authority and power, forced to make changes. All governors and other officers of the Moorish Science Temple of America, of the Moorish Science Temple, are hereby congratulated for their past loyalty and fidelity. For I know it will be the same in the future, because of certain incidents that have arisen in some of the temples, which seem to come from the fact that there are those who do not know where the seat of power is vested. The prophet has ordered the following to be published. All authority and power of the Moorish Science Temple of America is vested in the prophet Noble Ali and those whom he appoints to act as in the supreme body. The prophet has the authority and power to expel any officer or member of the Moorish Science Temple of America who willfully violates or refuses to comply with the rules in regards to branch Moorish Science Temple. And such suspension and expulsion shall stand until in the judgment of the prophet. The members and officers shall have made satisfactory atonement. All officers and members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and such rules and regulations of the Constitution shall be in writing, and not in variance with any law of the city, town, or nation which the prophet shall declare law. During this session of the convention, all rules, regulations, and laws of the Constitution, and such as might be enacted and ordered by the prophet, shall express and explain in detail, so that there can be no doubt as to what is required of each and every officer of, or member of the organization. The prophet positively will not tolerate any interference with the operation of this divine movement from anyone by the prophet Noble Ali. Islam. This is true. Yeah. I know that what I'm demonstrating is not popular, but this is not a popularity contest. You know, and people are so used to hearing what they're so used to, you know, buttery language coming from the leadership. But this law is strong and it's stern and it's strict. Mm. Uh, Check this out. This is political slavery. Friday, February 19th, 1929. Anytime a man or a woman fails or refuses to cast the sacred ballot at the polls, they separate themselves from all rights of an American citizen. For surely this is the one connecting medium for a citizen to his nation. They become no more than belated beasts of burden. There are reasons why certain classes who are more or less independent take no part in politics, since they say they get nothing out of such in the way of material gain. This is no less than a political slave, since they refuse to voice their sentiments at the polls. Another form of political slavery, which is probably more prevalent amongst the less independent classes, is that of being forced into one of the major parties and thereby coerced or otherwise forced to vote the wishes of someone else, regardless of their own minds. Before there can be general relief for the economic good of all forms of political slavery must be abolished, and every citizen must take his part in the affairs of the nation. And this is probably one of the speeches that you rarely hear um, demonstrated, because what it shows is that the Prophet Ojali was very much involved in political affairs, as this next demonstration will show. On Friday, October 26, 1928, it's all registered. 3,000 Muslims of the Grand Temple and the West Side Temple are making ready to register every man or woman in order to take the lead for the various candidates where they have been instructed to vote for. Alderman Louis B. Anderson, Honorable George W. Blackwell, and Honorable Oscar DePriest, Honorable H. Jackson, all working through the regular Republican organizations, of which the Honorable Daniel M. Jackson is our matchless leader, all know the whole situation and have their own way and time to give the order to go. The Muslims will be ready. So that's to show that the Moorish Science Temple of America was very much involved in political affairs. And we made a point to make our voices heard at the polls. So this goes against the idea that, for people that want to demonstrate outside of the law, you know, there is a connection, there's a divine connection to Allah and His Prophet in regards to political affairs. So, and this part was really keyed in upon by the Prophet Noble Ali, showing that we are supposed to take our place amongst the affairs of men. But you have many today that say otherwise. They would rather say that, you know, COINTELPRO infiltrated the organization, and actually they have more to do with the infiltration of an organization than ones would believe. And they promoted the position that we should be out of the affairs of status quo when nothing could be further from the truth. We're supposed to have a voice, and we're supposed to be organized and supporting those that support us as a religious organization. But there's this perception that mixes our people up and have them to believe that that is not the case. And nothing could be further from the truth. And that's part of the reason why the prophet put it in there, political slavery. Because in these modern days and times, many of our people have been led to believe that they're not supposed to be organized in any activity as it relates to um, political activity. Or they've been led to believe that they have no power at the polls. Nothing could be further from the truth. So they would rather operate outside of the parameters of the political field. But that's not the way that it's supposed to go. So I wanted to just set that record straight and let people know that that is not the way it's supposed to be going. Islam. All right. Now check this out. Our dollars and cents. The doctrine of economic security is by no means as widespread and intensive among Americans of our group, and the circumstance demand. And the more written and said on the subject, the better. We need to more earnestly urge conscientious support of the businessmen and women of our group in their chosen fields of endeavor. The greater the success of their business enterprises, the more open gates of opportunity there will be for our youth of today and tomorrow. Think of this fact. We need to urge that our businessmen and women build on the principle of service. We need to urge the greater cooperation among them to render courteous, honest, and effective service to the buying public. They should not expect any support and patronage merely on the grounds that they are race men and women in the business, but for the reasons that the services and quality of their goods and products they sell are equal in value to the service and merchandise offered to the buying public by any other business people. There should be maintained a cooperative spirit among our businessmen and women to keep their business places as clean and sanitary as any similar places in any other section of the city. Citizens of our group should cultivate a sound vision when it comes to the necessity of buying professional service, merchandise, provisions, etc. We should look beyond the direct result and object for which we invest our money. We should lose sight of the mere fact that we receive a dollar's worth for a dollar spent. We should keep firmly in mind the necessity of keeping each dollar spent as much as possible within the spheres of our own activities, where they will create further openings of businesses, business enterprises, and wider opportunities for the men and women of our group to procure soundly remunerative employment. Forward must be the watchword of the seller and buyer alike. We make the money and we spend the cash. Let us sincerely cooperate with one another, the other. Our plight will change when we change ourselves. Islam, and that's something you don't hear often preached, our dollars and cents, but it's something that needs to be reinforced in our business practices within the temples. Islam, here's another good one. Following our leaders. The thousands of Moorish Americans will follow their leaders, regardless of propaganda put forth by those who have designs to hinder them in the work for the advancement of their people. We will not stop to question the requisites, qualifications, nor anything else, so long as our leaders who have investigated and passed on course of action to which we feel is enough endorsement for us to act. We have long known that the first attempt to crush the leaders of any movement or organization is to plant dissension amongst the followers. Such will never be the case with the Moorish Americans. For when we have chosen our leaders, that within itself tells the world that we are going to follow them. All of the knocks and slams that come from anyone against our leaders will be ignored by us. Where they lead us, we will follow. Islam. So this is all part of trust. This is information that is not really highlighted and followed out upon. So this is why I'm doing my divine duty and making sure that the people understand and that this information is resurrected. All right. Okay, check this out. This is a deep one right here. Dedicated to the sons of men. Amexa, the land of our fathers, the land where the gods love to dwell, the birthplace of the ancient Egypt land, where civilization first saw the light of day. Now, since man has left his first religion, he has been suffering from a complex disease in which in some ways takes hold of his passions and desires. The misdirection of his brain caused him to become a living monster. He is a slave to his lower self. No scientists nor doctors have been able to find anything to affect the cure until the coming of Prophet Noble Ali, who comes from the east bringing the light of new day. The Moorish divine movement built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, the salvation for the nation. In the deliberation of nations, no consideration is given to the people who are not a nation. In 1774, the Europeans of this country took the birthrights away from the people whom they forced under bondage. They were not slaves. They were bound free men. The subsequent generation who followed them in this bondage were slaves because their minds had been subjugated to a European psychology. They were branded with the name Negro and were separated from the illustrious history of their forefathers, who were the founders of the first civilization. You see that? That means that this was what was done in science must be undone in science. This is why the name of the organization is the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's not. Now check this out. Nickname. When the forefathers of the Moorish Americans were first brought to this nation, they had a nationality and a name. But in order to separate them from the achievements of their fathers, a name was given them which had no connection whatever with the founders of civilization. They were nicknamed Negroes. Today in this nation, there is no such thing as Negroes in the sense that they were called. Just why so many of the intelligent Americans will continue to cling to this nickname is hard to understand. If you look in some dictionaries, you will see that the word Negro means a slight person, a coon. If this is not an insult to the illustrious history of the nation, there can never be one given. Just as they have saddled on the Moorish Americans the name Negro, they have also given him a religion that was made to enslave him and stop his progress. It is the duty of every man who lives to redeem the name of his forefathers and not be herded into a mass of weaklings. Stop referring to yourself as Negro, colored, and black, for you are neither. If you are men, American citizens, speak up for yourselves, or it will never be done. As long as you wear the clothes of another, or live in the house of another, or depend on another in any manner, you are truly a slave to them. If you would be free, indeed, you must seek the truth. You must know the truth of your nationality and the name of your people. You must not be a coward and deny yourself the personal right that belongs to every man. Islam. You want right in step, lock in step with this. Demanding ours. The idea inculcated in the purposes of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to have everything that belongs to us as a nation that has become a part of another nation. Just the name as all other European groups are doing. We must have the history of our forefathers taught to our children. We have ceased to calculate our history from the landing of the first 20 or the close of the Civil War, while all records of the tombs in the old world are proclaiming our glory to the nations. We have come now demanding that we be given credit for the great work done in the past by our ancestors. We are not asking others to give these records to the world for us, but we demand that such records be broadcasted to the four winds by us and for us. A pride that goes with the knowledge of great deeds will serve to cause our posterity to take heart and look into the vast future with the hope eternal. Such can never be done except they be taught who they are and where they are from. Yes, we are demanding that these things be done, and we know that it will require some time before we have created the consciousness in others to our group to assert themselves likewise. But that day is coming when such will be the case. Islam. History defined. History may be defined in a general way as the record of the life of mankind. It is the rise and progress of those famous people whose doing constitute the history of the civilization. In this, its proper and highest science, history presupposes the nations of the world advance beyond the natural or primitive state, and to these belong our great leader, Muhammad, directed by our Father God Allah. Respect mankind outside of nations. There is much interesting and valuable knowledge supplied by various sciences. By the aid of these sciences, much is now known regarding mankind's customs, manners, language, arts, and religion, which brings us back to our Father Allah and the Muslims' religion. The Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by the Prophet Noble Ali, aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation. It is building on the human needs. To this desirable end, in time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health, and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, to teach these fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. We of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless of American citizens, know that we must live together here in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill. Whatever your race or creed may be, it is only from a purely religious standpoint, it seems at this time, that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Muslim religion. We believe in the principles of its teaching insofar they can be adopted to the American life. We feel that the Christian religion is all right for those who prefer it. In America, religious freedom is guaranteed under the Constitution. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe this can be done. We believe this can best be done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprise and cultivating our own acres of land. We welcome into our folds men and women of our group in all sections and all trades, occupations, and professions of the sound mind and good character. We are friends in service of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We have set about to do this through a wide, comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam. So it's a great burden to be on this path, and not too many people are, it's not, the truth is not popular. It's, people want the easy way out. They want to listen to somebody that sounds good. They don't want to do the hard work. But the fact of the matter is, the only way to avoid, you have to go through the fire to get your remedy. Now, the prophet was quoted saying that he had to go around his elbow to get to his thumb. So, and it's not necessarily the easiest route. It's meant to be challenges, When we come to this plane of existence, we understand that a soldier without a foe never knows his strength. Thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. So it's just like when you into physical fitness and you work the muscle. And the more you work the muscle, the stronger you get. It's the same thing with anything. We have to, and it's hard at first. Like when you first start working out, it's hard. To get on that treadmill, it's a effort. It takes great effort. But the good news is that as you tread along and you go forward, as you move forward, it gets easier. And the same thing goes for our unity. It's something you have to work at, consciously work at. So I want to give honor to the two people that are demonstrating with us during this recording, Islam. You are appreciated. And we're inspired, even if just one person, even if Allah, see, Allah is the witness to it all. He sees it all. And it's live, it's being recorded. So we appreciate anybody that's making an effort to demonstrate the truth. We're going to be signing off here in a few moments. So again, I want to say praise Allah to you all. Thank you for the inspiration. We're going to be coming out First of all, we did cover a lot of information. We shared with the people, and we appreciate any efforts that anybody's making to make their own condition better, because it's your problem. We see the prophet came, Noble Jali came to help us, to assist us. And now that he's no longer in the flesh, we have to take it upon ourselves to follow through and live this truth. You know, um, it's not easy. It wasn't meant to be easy. But when you're involved in nation building, um, you'll see that you have all kinds of obstacles. You know, I have people in my own family that they've been members for years, almost as long as I have. But they've become lost into the cares of the world, and they're caught up into Asia. You know, it's good to be industrious, you know, to work your job and do what you do. But within the same token, Islam, or well, within the same token, we have been charged to uplift ourselves and pull ourselves up out of bootstraps. Far too many of us wanted the easy way out. You know, we'd rather work for somebody else rather than create our own businesses. And this is the trust, this is mindset, Islam. Yeah, peace, sister. Peace. We, like I said, we're gonna try to be more consistent with putting this information out here, Islam. But you can go back and look at the recording, you know, because we upload everything. But we're going to be more consistent with getting this information out here and sharing this truth. We're going to be sharing more information as it relates to this trust. And as you will see soon, people will become, as it becomes more popular, because see, people comprehend things by what they see and do. It may seem like you know, we don't have a lot going on, but the angels support us. As Allah is my witness, and He is guiding us, angelic forces, and so we understand that it's beyond just. Um, it's not just we doing this. It's a divine mandate that we have. So we're just doing our part, good sister, good brother. Appreciate y'all. You know, keep the love strong and realize where there's unity, there is strength. So if 2, 3 of y'all came, and that makes 3 with me, then Allah is found within the mist. And so that's the challenge, you know. But as we become, you know, as the blessings come and people see the trappings of, you know, wealth and, you know, great things, then they will, because men comprehend things by what they see and do. And that's the fact of the matter. But with that being said, I'm going to close out. Allah, guide our hearts and our minds back to ancient Father's divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name and the 7th Elohim. Amen. Islam.